Alright, in this video we're going to go over how to deal with the absolute dreaded and constant nuisance that is the Tunisian knit stitch curl. And what we'll be doing is putting a border onto this. There are some other ways of dealing with this curl that you're going to see, such as if you go up a few sizes in a crochet hook, or if when you have your loops on the hook, you keep them much looser. It does help, but it does seem to be just a persistent nag that we have this curling up on our two ends. As you can see, it's practically made a little circle on its own. If you're making something like a blanket, it does start to fall out the larger you get, but those edges are still going to kind of turn up. So to avoid this, another option, as opposed to trying to adjust how we are stitching, is to go ahead and put a border. I'll be using this blue just to kind of emphasize the difference. And my little sample here is, I want to say 8 by 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that last guy? Yeah, I mean, he's 8. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that's the foundation. But sometimes I do notice that I lose count with these borders. What matters is that we're going to try the best we can to get into each one of these loops. So we can go ahead and get started. I'm just going to pick a corner and simply push through the very first stitch of my corner. Pinch this in my hand, yarn over, pull up, and yarn over and pull through. And so this is going to start my border, and I'll just go ahead and work single crochets. You could also very likely do a slip stitch, as I was inclined to do initially for this demonstration, as this is more of just how to put in a border. We'll go ahead and stick with the single. Oh yeah, that's definitely gonna count as a stitch. So on this edge right here, I'm gonna go into this last one, single crochet, and then to turn, I'm actually going to go in a second time to make my turning, and then go in a third through the same loop to complete and start this next row. From there, we'll just continue on. It is a little bit easier with this Tunisian stitch. This same method can be applied to most crochet stitches, but you'll notice with some of the sides, as you build up in stitches like the single crochet itself, or especially the double or triple, it gets harder to see those sides, and that's where it kind of becomes more creative than an actual count to be going where you need to. Alright, and so I got that last one right here. I'm just pulling these tails out of the way. This is going to be my corner. So I went in once. I'll go in twice. And I'll go in a third time. And we will continue on. And this is a little bit tighter. It was, I believe this was the side that was our foundation chain, and that does tend to be a bit tighter. All right, and we're coming to this edge. So I'm gonna go ahead and go through this first, and then if you can see, it's not very visible, but I'm going to sneak into what was kind of the turning, and that's where I'm going to put my corner. So I'll go once, twice, and 3 times to make that full turn. And then from this side, I'll go ahead and just continue on. And it's getting a little bit more. I mean, it's still, we can kind of see those loops. So we can slip through here. All right. This last one here, we can see that there's not really another stitch. So this will be our corner. So we went in once, twice, 3 times to make that turn. And what I'm going to do now is slip stitch through my first blue. And from here, I'll be able to chain and continue on. And so this is going to be the start of our border. And so you can see we kind of we found edges. I mean, it definitely wasn't mechanical, and I think that we could get some counts involved. But usually with these borders, when I'm going through them, I'm able to just kind of find that edge and make it and move on. But we'll go ahead and add another row just so we can really see it build. So I have my slip stitch. I'm going to chain 1. And I'm going to go through that very first stitch. All right, and on these edges, we're just going through. And we want to make sure that this very corner one, again, we're turning and we're building out. So we'll go back through it a second and a third to keep up that edge. And we will continue down the row. And hopefully I'm not running out of yarn. That would be tiresome. So again, we've come to the end. We can kind of identify our turning. It's going to be this one. So I'm going to single crochet here. And then this guy, I'm actually going to build in my 3. And by adding those 3 in each of the corners, we just kind of keep that distinct edge. And of course, I'm running out of yarn, bliss. All right, so we'll go ahead and go. So if we're looking closely, we can see this pattern of 3 stitches right there. This is going to be our first one. So this second one will be what we put the 3 additional stitches in. And luckily I have more yarn here, but of course it is a massive heap. So let me go ahead and get this untangled. All right, so hopefully this gets us through. So, and this is a good example of, I'm not going to worry about hiding them right now because we're more focused on making this border. So I'm just going to pinch my 2 tails. I can always hide these later and move on. So we have 1, 2, and 3 in that corner. And finally on our last row, and we want to be careful. So that is where our slip stitch is going to be. We can kind of see also it's where our 3, so we're not quite there. This will be the first of our 3 stitches. And then if we're looking closely, we can see that was the first. So this next loop is going to be our second. It's of course a little tight, so we're going to go in once, twice, 3 times to make that turn. And in our next stitch, we are going to slip stitch. All right. And that is going to be how we add a border. So this is a single crochet border. You can see my tension is a little bit off because it's just getting a little floppy. I probably could have kept that looser or even used a larger crochet hook than the one I used for my Tunisian portion. But there we are. So another good option with this, after putting in that first row of single, or you could even do slip stitches, I do like to do the back loop only half double crochet because it kind of makes this same braided appearance. It'll just be going around. But that is how we can quickly and efficiently add a border. And notice when putting in that border, it does flatten itself right on out. And we combat and beat the problem with the Tunisian knit stitch curl.